Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown, Episode 1. Now, this is a little bit different from how you may have seen us before. This is our weekly show where we'll cover the news and the goings-on of the world of American football. We have the pleasure tonight of being joined by the whole Tartan Touchdown crew. First up, we have a resident Jags fan and Press Taylor hater. It's Sarah. How are you?
Good, I'm great. I'll be better once something is confirmed, but I'm fine otherwise apart from that.
Next up, we have our literal giant and QB hunter, Gavin. How are you, Gav?
I'm very well. Happy New Year, team. And Happy New Year to everyone that's listening as well. It's good to be kicking off 2025 and hitting the ground running.
Do you know what I said to everybody today? That today was the last day you could tell me Happy New Year. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. I'm telling people no more.
Yeah.
Swift.
See, what the listeners and watchers won't know is it means Sarah both wished each other a Happy New Year on the meeting we had last night that Gav slept in for.
Slept. 8 o'clock.
And as a 7 p.m. meeting that Gav slept in for.
He wanted, might I add, the meeting.
Now we've got that out of the road. With today being the official first day post NFL regular season, we've got a lot to chat about. We've already seen some head coaches losing their jobs on Black Monday, one not on Black Monday, on Black Sunday, and there's still a few others awaiting their fate across the league. So not long after the end of the early games last night, the Patriots decided it was time to move on from Jared Mayo. Robert Kraft's been given his press conference just before we started recording, saying it's one of the hardest decisions he's made. He put Mayo in a position that was untenable, and it basically wasn't fair on Mayo. But something we'll come on to talk about is probably a reason why he's pulled that trigger a wee bit early, I think. And then today, Sarah was getting the party poppers out as the Jags informed Doug Peterson that they would be looking for a new head coach as well. So Sarah, I'll come to you first. What's your reaction to first Doug Peterson going, and who do you think's coming around the corner for you?
I'm in two minds. I'm sad. I mean, I think a lot of people know that I'm a Doug Peterson sympathiser. I'll just say it like it is. I don't think it's necessarily all about him and his style of coaching, because I just look at how he performed in the first season when we went to the playoffs. So I don't think it's all his fault. However, it is the somehow weird. Press Taylor must have some kind of dark. There must be something going on in the background there, because why this man's getting dragged along with him, I don't really know, and that's now the downfall. And I don't see him getting picked up by any other team now. So I think he's done. Yeah. So I'm sad to see him go for that sense, but also if you have to go, you have to go. Essentially, at the moment, I was feeling promising about our new head coach prospects. However, obviously, I am really, really shocked that Trent Baalke is staying. And I don't think it's an environment that a head coach, especially a potential new head coach, so somebody who's never done that position before, wants to go into. You fire 3 head coaches in San Francisco, have a big blowout of one of them in particular. You have now fired 2 head coaches in Jacksonville, and you've got 1 Pro Bowl player drafted since 21. I think the problem is the organisation. So as much as I would love it to be Ben Johnson, I don't see it happening now. And that seems to be the general mood in the camp. So I don't really actually know who I think is going to end up, because I just don't think there's anybody who will be able to come up against him and put a front. But however, Can did say today that whoever the head coach is will fall under him and not the GM.
Interesting.
Which is an interest. I don't know how that works. Yeah. Obviously, I don't understand how the coaching levels all work. And
sounds like Shahid Khan is as good at running a football team as his son is at running a wrestling promotion.
Pretty much it. I just don't understand what's happened. But I was just doing some bits and bobs before we came on, and I like Phillips, who's the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, is a shout. Brady from the Bills, defensive coordinator, is also maybe a shout. He's maybe slightly older, so maybe can put up a bit more of a fight, I guess. Cohen from the Bucks, maybe. Because I think we need somebody who can get out of Trevor Lawrence what we think Trevor Lawrence can get taken out of. And obviously the Detroit defensive coordinator is also one that keeps getting floated about. But I don't really know, but I'm happy to hear what you guys think. if you have any suggestions.
I think, Gav, obviously, like in recent years, I say recent years, probably the last 5 years, it's changing a lot in terms of the value that teams put on their coaches in terms of coordinators. So if you now want to go as a team and get a top OC or a top DC as your head coach, you're having to pay draft picks as if you're drafting for a player. Ben Johnson, the Lions are going to ask for absolute fortunes for him. I'd imagine the Vikings will be the same with Brian Flores at their DC and stuff like that. It's not as easy now to just go and pick any offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator up as your head coach, Gav, is it?
No, I think that's a really important point you do bring in the training, because certainly we know, particularly with both the Lions coordinators, Aaron Glenn being the defensive coordinator, that there's a lot of interest out there for both of them. But we are actually hearing a lot of chat around trades for Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings, which I do think is an interesting one, because having taken, I guess, that step to really turn that team around when no one expected to do so, wouldn't you want to stay as a head coach where you are? So that'll be an interesting one to watch, and I guess certainly if any team can get them, then it'd be a fantastic thing. But we do need to bear in mind that there's a lot of good pieces in place in the Vikings. And I think, as Sayers alluded to, and in fact, I think as we could speak to all of the teams that are making head coach moves, there's other things that need to be solved than just the coaching personnel.
Yeah. I think the chat about McConnell's come out because he's got 1 year left in his contract. And I've read, I can't remember who, somebody wrote an article, and they were basically saying, like, 2 years ago they're in transition. Last year they didn't do as well as they were hoping. This year they're having a fantastic season. So you're not going to talk to him about a new contract in his first year. You're not going to talk to him about a new contract in his transition year. And you're certainly not going to get distracted by contract talks in a year where you're doing so well. So I think it's all coming from, well, he's only got 1 year left in his contract. O'Connell will sign a massive contract with the Vikings. There's no way he's leaving there. He's got all the pieces at the moment. He's got JJ McCarthy to come back as well. Where else is he going to walk into a situation like that? There's nowhere else in the league, I feel, that he can walk into a position that is ready-made to be exactly as the Vikings are. So for me, O'Connell, he stays in Minnesota and signs probably a long-term contract. And I think that it is just that usual NFL rumours and stuff like that as well. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like say, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. There's so many old coordinators out there that let's see what price the teams start asking for these coaches, because I remember when Sean Payton was talked about moving to the Cowboys, and they're talking like you're going to have to give up 2 firsts for him and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's just mental. Some coaches will go for more than players will, but
I genuinely think that we're in a better position than some of the other potential places that some of them could go. I think we would willingly give up the 5th pick, to be honest. Not that we don't need it, but I think you could probably give it away and be like, right, okay, it's not the worst thing to ever happen. Whereas there's other teams out there who I think don't have the luxury of doing it because they need players, they need key positions. Yeah. Like, we don't need a quarterback. Yeah. We're okay for that at the moment, which is the big one, I guess, obviously every single year. So, I mean, I'll give it up. I know it's not my decision, but I'll give it up.
First round draft pick just to make sure Taylor was at the door.
Oh, honestly, literally, I just want to kick him out. Like, we were talking about I don't know how the Taylor brothers survive. I can understand why Zach survived, but I don't. Press can.
Yeah, I think if anybody's giving up draft picks for a coach this year, it'll be from next year's draft. I don't think anybody gives up anything this year. I think that's probably asking for too much.
Silly talk.
Right, okay, let's move on to coaches who we know are staying. So we know that the 49ers are holding on to Kyle Shanahan. They've come out and said that him and John Lynch are staying. The Dolphins today have come out and said GM and Mike McDaniel staying. And in the world's most bluntest statement, the Giants have come out and said they're sticking with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. So, Gav, you predicted Daboll stayed. Now that it's been confirmed, what's your thoughts around that situation at your team?
I think the jury's still out on this. So don't get me wrong, I predicted Daboll to stay. But I think there's going to be a few other pieces need to fall into place before I'll be happy about it. I think one of the reasons, and I think one of the defences for Brian Daboll has been the lack of good quarterback play that he's had in his 3 seasons at the Giants. Having said all that, if you go into next season and the Giants don't solve that piece and sitting currently at number 3 in the draft, as we'll come on to discuss, there's, I guess, a question mark there as to what the Giants do. But if you don't solve that, then you're looking at the exact same situation that you've had for, well, certainly for this season, if not the year before. So we know that the Giants they do have a talented defensive line. They have a very promising receiver in Malik Neighbors. So there are pieces that you can build and grow around. But until you get that fundamental component, which is your franchise quarterback, then it's always going to be a question of what if.
Yes.
So I think Daboll has the capability to lead the Giants forward, but it's going to be with what players.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's an interesting one. Obviously, being a big divisional rival of me, the Giants have been in free fall for a few years now, and they don't seem to. Some of the other teams you can see, they kind of seem to. The Giants, and I think the problem the Giants had was that a 9-game run that Daniel Jones went on, and he looked like a world beater for 9 games. They paid him all the money, and then the next season they realised, actually, that's the real Daniel Jones we've got back. That kind of hamstrung you for a bit, been stuck with him, and I think that's. Now, it's a case that needs to be... You obviously keep the GM, you keep the head coach, but you say you start to put pieces together. You've obviously got Neighbours there. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side of the ball. A couple of key defensive pieces for you on the line. So there is the makings of the start of something. They just need to give Daboll the pieces to add to that as well. So it's interesting to see how the one that plays out in New York feels very unusual that they've given him time, not anything against him, just New York media and all the pressure in New York, that the easy decision would have been to let him go. That would have been the easy decision for the Giants to make. So they have made the difficult decision. They're sticking with him. So let's see how that one plays out next year. I just have to recheck my phone to see if there's anything that happened while we're recording, but it doesn't seem like there's anything happened in the last wee while. Although I think the latest thing was that the Bengals cleaned house on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive coordinator and loads of other staff are gone. So to me, that makes me think Zach Taylor stays as well, because you're not going to get rid of a defensive coordinator and then wait a week or a couple of days and get rid of your head coach. So I think Zach Taylor's probably safe as well. But there is a lot of coaches still out there on the hot seat. So over the next couple of days, Sarah, what have you noticed? What you're laughing at?
No, apparently one of the Jags media outlets reached out to one prominent candidate, mentioned multiple times, and they said that if Trent Baalke's there, that they won't go.
Oops.
It's fine.
So,
fine.
So we'll see how it plays out over the next couple of days. This is only the first day of Black Monday. It also becomes more as the thing was. We'll obviously get a lot of the West Coast teams are time difference and stuff like that as well, so they might not have made their decisions or informed them yet. So let's see how that one plays out going forward, especially in the grand state of Texas as well, but we'll not speculate on that. All right, folks, before we get to the NFL wildcard games, which are next weekend, we have the college football playoffs. So we're not just talking about NFL on the Tartan Touchdown, we talk about the game across the board. So college football this weekend, they've got the Orange Bowl, which is getting played in Miami on Thursday between Notre Dame and Penn State. I watched Notre Dame last weekend. They looked absolutely ridiculously good. So it's going to be interesting how this one plays out. If you don't watch much of college ball, you're not sure who to watch out for, a couple of players to watch out on each side of the ball. So for Notre Dame, you get Riley Leonard, their quarterback, who they picked up in the transfer portal last season. So he's good to watch. I watched him last week. He seems to be a very technical quarterback and is good at leading that offense. On the other side of the ball, they've got an absolute monster at linebacker in Jack Kaiser. He is just an absolute wrecking ball. When he goes to the NFL, will destroy teams. He just one of those linebackers that you watch and just think, wow, he can do everything. It's exactly what you're getting with Jack Kaiser. And at safety, they've got an absolute ball hawk, someone that's great at covering all sides of the field, and Xavier Watts. So it'll be good to see them for Notre Dame this weekend. On the other side, for Penn State, you've got Drew Aller at quarterback, who has led the Nittany Lions to the playoffs this season, and he's showing up what he can do. Another basketball player they've got is Tyler Warren. He's their main threat at receiving. I say receiving, not receiving tight end, but he's our main threat. And then they've also got Jalen Reed at safety as well, whose tackles this season are ridiculous, the amount of tackles he's made. So in that game, that's the players to watch out for. A lot of expectation on Notre Dame to win this one, but see how that one goes. Gav?
Yeah, so Dan, I think I'm obviously, I guess, a relative outsider to college football playoffs, but we know this is the first year that they've done the 12-team bracket. But I guess there's already been a lot of questions over the seeding and a lot of upsets. So I guess as the Tartan Touchdowns resident college football expert, what's your point of view on the new bracket?
I mean, I like it because, I like the idea of it. So getting more teams in, I like the idea of it because before we just had 4 teams, it sounds daft, but college football will always come down to who the experts think should be in the playoffs. That's not changed in terms of that. But basically, it opens up to other teams that maybe they've had a playoff chance in the past. I mean, you've now got that amount of teams that are now going in that the experts are still picking who's going in. There was a lot of controversy this year about who went in because there was teams that had better records didn't make the playoffs than other teams did, and that's always going to be the case when they've got the process this way. But for me, having 12 teams in the playoff is a better option. It makes for bigger games. It makes for there were a couple of shock results as well, like Ohio State winning. I know they're one of the biggest teams in the college, the biggest program, but they weren't expected to win as comfortably as they did last week. So I like it. But again, it comes back to a conversation we had a bit of piece we put out about should teams be ranked on their records rather than winning their division or their conference, it is in college football, because you had the 4 conference winners getting a bye, and the way they done this was, it's daft. They didn't do like 1 versus 12 or 2 versus whatever. It was picked, so like these 2 teams will play, and the winner of that will play that, which is why you've got Ohio State against Texas, because you get 2 of the biggest teams playing each other in the semi-final in the last round as well. So it works in terms of having more teams. I think they still need to tweak how they set the matchups in the playoffs in college football, because there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It goes on strength of schedule, it goes on what the experts think, on the committee of the playoff committee, the college football rankings committee, who they think are the 12 best teams to win the playoffs. So 5 or 6 of them are standouts. This is who's going to be because they're the best teams in the league. I think this year you had 2 or 3 teams that were very debatable where they should be in or whether someone else should be in. So I do think it's a good idea. It just maybe needs a bit of tweaking, a bit more structure about how they do it going forward. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how it plays out. But it is the first year of doing it. There is going to be teething problems. There is going to be things people don't like and people do like. So we'll see how it goes next season. So yeah, so I think that's... In terms of the second semi-final, we have the Cotton Bowl getting played at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. We have Ohio State versus the home team, Texas Longhorns. So, I mean, if anybody has, just purely off topic for a second in terms of the actual game, if anyone hasn't seen the Texas Longhorns mascot, please go and look them up. Big Bevo, it is ridiculously massive. They actually have a longhorn that sits on the sideline, and it is just ridiculously big. They weren't allowed it, and where did they play last week? Atlanta or Minnesota? They weren't allowed it because there wasn't enough space on the sideline. There's plenty of space on the sideline at AT&T, so I expect Bevo to be here this weekend. So yeah, you think mascots, you think of the NFL mascots when you've got teddies dressed up, people dressed up as teddies, and then you've got an actual Texas Longhorn on the sideline. It's a bit mental. And there's also a video of, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, when the Longhorns played the Georgia Bulldogs, and the Georgia Bulldogs dog walked past Bevo's enclosure, and Bevo just charged and chased after the Bulldog. I thought it was lunchtime. So yeah, please go and check those 2 videos out if you haven't seen them before. But anyway, back to the actual game itself. In terms of players to watch, for Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, a wide receiver, he's ridiculous. He is going to be one of the top receivers in the NFL when he makes it up to the big league. I don't think he'll go very high in the draft, but he's one of those players that he can do ridiculous things on the sideline. They also have another monster linebacker in Cody Simon, and 2 keepers they've got in defence are both safeties. You've got Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs, who are both ridiculous safeties again that will go and have great careers in the NFL. So for Ohio State, that's the players you want to watch. Obviously, they've got a good quarterback in Will Howard, but that's who you want to look at in terms of on that side of the ball. For Texas, we have Quinn Ewers at quarterback. A lot of chat around him entering the transfer portal this season. They also got to the semi-finals, but the problem he's got is Arch Manning sitting right behind him waiting to play. So there's a lot of pressure on him in terms of that. Is he going to go somewhere else next season for his final year? So we're interested to see what he does. Gunnar Helm at tight end, very similar to Tyler Warren. He's a key receiver for Texas. He just does crazy things. They've also got Golden at wide receiver, who's their other threat, but if you look at tight ends that have come out of college in the last couple of years, like Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, that Gunnar Helm is in that kind of type of player. He's a receiving tight end more than a blocking tight end, so he'll be good for Texas. And then they've got Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker. There's also a lot of linebackers to watch in this, a lot of safeties to watch in it, a couple of tight ends, a couple of receivers. In terms of where I think the games are going to go, I think Notre Dame probably beat Penn State. I'm not going to say comfortably, but they shouldn't have too much of a problem winning that. Ohio State against Texas is a tough one. If the Ohio State that turned up last week, the Ohio State that we've seen last week turns up, the blow takes out the water. And I think for me, I want to see Notre Dame against Ohio State in the championship game. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Notre Dame over Penn State and Ohio State over Texas. So keep an eye out those games on Thursday and Friday in the UK. I think they are at stupid AM for us, as in 1 in the morning kickoffs. I think I'll double check the times, and we'll get them up on socials ahead of the games this weekend and stuff like that. So talking about college football, that leads us on nicely to the 2025 NFL draft, which this year's been hosted actually at Lambeau Field. So obviously the drafts they're normally in the cities, and we've seen Detroit and how crazy that was in terms of they're actually having the draft in Lambeau Field and building it all up. So that's going to be amazing. So it is time for the Tartan touchdown. Way too early. Top 5 draft picks. All right. So we know if the top 5 picks are locked in. We know who's picking 1 to 5. Well, we know who's picking more than that, but we're focused on 1 to 5 here. So with the Titans at 1, Browns at 2, Giants at 3, Patriots at 4, and the Jags at 5. So, Gav and Sarah, what I want you to tell me is who is going where in the top 5 draft picks. And if you have a reason why, give me it as well. So, I'm going to come to Gav. You're first.
Well, I think this is where I'm going to be bold right from day one, because I said that the Giants need to sort out the quarterback position. So I'm actually predicting that at number 1, we will have a trade. I think the Giants will be aggressive. I think they'll move up to take the first overall pick from the Titans. And I think for me, I'm going to see Cam Ward. I think there's a lot of hype around Shedeur Sanders, which could very well be justified. But I'm also seeing a lot of scouts and execs saying that he might not even be a first-round quarterback whatsoever. The other thing that worries me a bit is with the family connection. You might see good genetics, but obviously New York media does having the son of Deion Sanders as a franchise quarterback become a distraction. If not in his rookie year, then certainly 2-3 years down the line. So I'm actually going to predict that the Giants will move up with the and do a deal with the Titans to go number 1.
Right. What about the rest of it? Give us them all in a row.
Right. Well, so I'd say that the Giants wouldn't be wouldn't want to go for Sanders. I'm pretty sure that the Browns would be quite happy to go for Sanders. Coming down to number 3. So let's say that obviously the Giants have traded with the Titans. I think the Titans will take Travis Hunter. Take essentially, your Heisman winner, one of the most anticipated players straight off the board. I think after that, I guess, as we said, this is a way too early prediction, but I think Pro Football Focus, I'm kind of born from them there. We've got them taking Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, and I think that's a difficult one to argue with. They do seem to have franchise quarterback in Drake May, despite the fact that, yes, the Patriots finished 4-13. I think there's a lot of promise coming from Drake May. So the big question is now, how do you help his development? How do you help his growth? One of the key things is, how do you keep him upright? So I think it's going to be, as I say, going with the offensive tackle to assist him there. And then Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is where, I guess this is where Sarah's going to perhaps correct me straight away, because we know, they're set quarterback. They do actually have a big weapon already in Brian Thomas Jr., in weapon in the good sense. So I'm thinking that they're actually going to go defense, and I think we're going to go with Will Johnson, who's the cornerback from Michigan.
Right, Sarah's nodding in agreement there. Right, Sarah, give us your top 5 picks.
Okay, I don't think the Giants will be able to take the first pick off the Titans, because the Titans need a quarterback as well. I don't think they'll trade down for it. So, but I think the Titans will take Sanders at number 1, because I think they'll just take him. Personally, I don't really know much about the college prospects this year anyway, so I'm going to run. So Sanders at number 1. I don't know what the Browns are going to do. Maybe they'll take Travis Hunter, because I don't know what we're going to do with their QB situation. I don't care enough about that man to care wherever he goes or whatever he does. I think you'll take. I still think that the Giants will end up with Cam Ward. Anyway, that was also my prediction. I could see. I agree with the. I don't think the Patriots need a quarterback. I think Drake May is totally fine. I think they will continue to build on him. I could maybe see them taking McMillan, because I think they need some other wide receiver to give them something to work with. And then I think that the Jags will take Will Johnson if they're still the 5th pick. But I could also see them taking Banks Jr. for an offensive tackle, because our O-line is also shocking, hence why Trevor was so banged up this season. So that's my very quick top 5. Having no idea about any of them.
All right, I'm going to follow suit with Gavin. Believe the number 1 pick is going to be traded, but not to the Giants. I think the Patriots are going to move up to number 1. And the reason I think that is because I think the Patriots head coach is going to be Mike Vrabel. All right, and I think he will want a defensive player that he can mould, because that's what he does. He's a defensive main coach. But what the Patriots also need is an elite wide receiver. That is the problem they've got. So you need a defensive player. You need an elite wide receiver. So why not get the 2 and the 1? I think the Patriots move up to 1 and they take Travis Hunter, because why would you not take him? Do you know what I mean? He has a generational talent. He says he wants to play both sides of the ball in the NFL. Well, he's allowed to do that. I'm not, as another question, but it's one of those ones that I think the Patriots move up and take Travis Hunter, because they need a receiver and they need something on that defense. They've obviously got Christian Gonzalez, so that would complement him on the other side of the field if they had Travis Hunter as well. So Travis Hunter to the Patriots. Number 2, I think the Browns take Cam Ward. They need a quarterback, but I think they are going to pick up a vet in the off-season to sit Cam Ward behind. Cam Ward is a very good quarterback, but whether he's NFL ready or not yet is still to be seen. I think that the Browns go after Kirk Cousins. I think that's where he lands, and Cam Ward sits behind him to learn the game for a season or 2, and then he moves in. Number 3, I think the Giants, I don't agree with it. I think it's a terrible decision, but it's the Giants, and we know what they can be like. I think that the Giants are taking Sanders. I just think it's happening. I agree with what you say, Gav, with the NFL execs and the scouts. So Sanders is a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback. Right? I'm not going to diss him. He is not a top 5 NFL draft quarterback. It's the hype machine. We see it all the time in college players. I mean, to an extent, Trevor Lawrence has done okay, but the hype machine that was behind Trevor Lawrence was ridiculous. We've seen it with Caleb Williams last season as well. I'm not saying it didn't justify it, but it was the hype machine. And with Sanders, it's just at another level. So I think the Giants will. I think the Giants will fall for it. I think the Giants take him at 3. So
I think they'll feel that their arm will be twisted. So I think in your mock draft, with Ward already being gone, like I said, I think they have to fix the quarterback position. And if Ward's gone, then I can see that happening.
Who are we going to take next? Yeah.
So number 4, in theory, the Titans are sitting there now because of the draft they've done with the Patriots. So I think the Titans might trade back again, because I think the Titans, they've obviously got Will Levis, but I think the Titans still need a quarterback. And I think the next best quarterback for them would be Jalen Milroe. So he's a dual threat quarterback. That's the way the NFL is going at the moment, with dual threat quarterbacks. But he doesn't have to go at 4. He's not going to go that high. So if the Titans look at it and they get an offer, and I think it'll be for Teteroa McMillan, somebody will want him at 4. So I think if Titans can move back a couple of places to let someone take him, they know they can still get Jalen Monroe in that top 10. So if the Titans stay in there, I think they take Milroe, but I think that's a reach at 4. So I expect Titans to go. I don't know who comes up into 4 to take McMillan, but I think the Titans then trade back again and kind of build up what they need, because they need to rebuild a full team basically, the Titans, so build up their draft picks. And then at 5, Will Johnson to the Jags as well. You've sold me on him. Sarah, I'm talking to him. Cornerback gives you that elite on the outside, on the defensive side of the ball. So Will Johnson at 5 for me as well. So we're way too early. We will revisit this in April and see where they're at and what's happened. Once all the red flags come out the combine, the 3 of them get bombed out the top 5. But anybody that's listening or watching it, drop us a message, comment on our Instagrams, let us know what you think of those picks from all of us. Well, some of them similar, some of them a bit controversial. Let us know what your thoughts are on the draft. But we're way too early, so let's not talk about it anymore. Let's come back to the present day. I said present day, current. So we have the Wildcard Weekend coming up. We also watched all the games tail end of the season last night.
Well, Gav didn't, but that's fine. We did.
Oh yeah, we did. We sat and watched it together, Sarah. We watched the games together.
We did. It was lovely. Yeah, Gav was nowhere to be seen, asleep somewhere.
Me and Sarah had a meeting last night, and we were meant to chat about what we're going to talk about tonight. And I think the first 40 minutes, where we should have been chatting about what was happening tonight, we watched the games and just chatted through them, because we were waiting for Gav to wake up to come on. So anyway, let's get to the games. Let's get up let's chat the games through. Let's see where we think it's going to go. So we wouldn't be an NFL and an American football podcast if we didn't have some predictions about what games are coming up. So first of all, let's go NFC first. So we'll get the Packers versus the Eagles. Sarah, let's come to you first. Give us your thoughts.
I think the Eagles will win. I know Dan is shaking his head already, but I think Jordan Love does have an injury. I do think he's got a problem with that wrist, and I don't see it fixing itself in the next week. I don't think he looked good when he appeared for the 5 minutes he appeared last night. And I think they should have just sat him out. I don't think it was worth the potential risk. So I think the Eagles will win.
Yeah, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think just to add to the Packers injury woes, Christian Watson, I believe, has gone on IR, so his season's over. So that's another key player that's gone on that Packers offense. Eagles, I mean, obviously now we're at the stage of the season where a lot of people are backing the Eagles to go all the way, but they have kind of just been flying quietly under the radar all season. Only dropped 3 games, very effective. I think, it's hard to see, as much as you get a bit of PTSD, Dan. I can't see a repeat of last season's Wildcard Weekend.
See, I'm going to disagree. I know Christian Watson's out, but I think the Packers, like you say, they absolutely blew us apart last year. Obviously, Christian Watson was a massive part of that, but the Packers have that many wide receivers. Like, losing one, we've seen this season, like, take one out, plug somebody else in. None of them, I think they're all at the same level. I don't think one of them is necessarily better than the other, which then allows it. You're not missing an elite receiver by Christian Watson going out, because your guys are all running about the same level and giving the same sort of thing to the team. I think we could be in for a shock here. The big question is, can the Packers stop Barkley? If they can slow Barkley down and stop Barkley, then the Eagles are going to rely on Jalen Hurts throwing the ball to win the game, and I've been saying it all year. I don't know, something going on behind Sirianni. I still don't know what that is. But if the Eagles need Jalen Hurts to win them the game, I don't think he does. So I'm going to put my neck out right on the first bat and go for the Packers on that one. So, disagreement. Next one, Bucks, Commanders. Gav, where's this one going?
So I guess there's a lot of chat this year we've seen in socials with Amon-Ra St. Brown talking about how we should reseed the playoffs. So we've got the 10-7 Bucks hosting the Commanders. Now, when I think about that argument that comes up pretty much every wildcard weekend now, what I think about is the Beastquake game back in 2011 when we had a Seattle team, I think, were the first ever to go to the playoffs with a losing record, but they had the home field advantage against the Saints, and they had a talismanic player in Marshawn Lynch to inspire them to victory. And I think those are the things that are going to happen here. I think the Bucks, powered by Baker Mayfield, are going to beat and I think really upset the Commanders, who have had a fantastic season. But I think just even that experience, I think, is going to pay dividends for the Bucks. Commanders get nothing to lose, but haven't really been in a game this big for some time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Bucks I think will be too strong. The only question I've got with the Bucks is Mike Evans going to be able to run with that $3 million sitting in his pocket after last night? Me and Sarah were sitting watching it thinking, can't believe the Bucks have done this to them when Bucky Irvin ran that touchdown in. And then when they get the ball back, we're like, oh, he's going to... And then, yeah.
He's going to get his $3 million. Literally, we were like, thank God.
Yeah. I am a big Baker Mayfield fan. I think he has found a home in Tampa Bay. You see it often with quarterbacks where they go these places. He's been all over the place, but he's found somewhere that suits him. It's very similar to Jared Goff, I think. He's found a home in a place that suits him. I have liked what I've seen from the Commanders this year. I knew Dan Quinn would go there and do well. I probably wasn't expected to be as quick as it has been. I don't think anybody was maybe expecting Jaden Daniels to come firing out the way he has, but they have, and they have impressed this year. I think, you say, Gav, it comes down to experience. I think the Bucks have been here before. I think it's the NFC team with the biggest running the playoffs in whatever it is, consecutive years. They're the only team that has done it in so many consecutive years, but they do play in the NFC South, so it does make perfect sense why they do it every year. But I think the Bucks will have too much for the Commanders. Sarah, what about yourself?
I completely agree. I don't have anything additional to add apart from that. I just think that it'll come down to experience, essentially. That I just think the guys in the Bucks know what's coming, understand the pressure, understand what needs to happen, and the Commanders are still getting. I mean, obviously they've done so well to be kind of obviously in their rebuild and kind of moving forward, and no one thought it would happen. But I just think that Baker Mayfield is too in the zone, yep, and just gets it. So yeah.
Okay, so the Bucks get the first ever Tartan touchdown clean sweep. So get your money on the Commanders to win. Next, Vikes and Rams. So Vikings were not impressive last night. I watched the highlights this morning. I think a lot of that though was down to the Lions' defense. The Lions' defense was superb last night. The Vikings are in a position where they're in for a reason. They're not. One game's not going to sum up their season. Rams, I think the Rams, like, genuinely, I completely forgot that they were doing so well because they've just been so under the radar this season. I mean, they've literally just got on with their job and nothing flashy, nothing fancy. And suddenly here they are winning the NFC West. Obviously helped by the downfall of the 49ers probably this season as well. But who, as a note, finished bottom of the NFC West. It's crazy. So, yeah, Vikings, Rams. I never like writing Matt Stafford off because he can do it whenever he wants to do it. But I think the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell's new 5-year contract that he's going to sign will win this game. Gav?
So, this is funny. I feel like the Vikings should win this game, but I'm going to throw in, I guess, a little X factor to this. The Vikings have just come off that game against the Lions, and the Lions. So I will say that I think that the Vikings lost to the Lions because it's the Lions. However, the Lions are brutal, and we saw, I think, with the Bills, Josh Allen went to Ford Field, came out with the win, then had to go to LA immediately after that, and they couldn't get the job done in a shootout, admittedly. So I'm trying to find where the banana skin game is in this Wildcard Weekend, and I actually think that it's the Vikings 14-3 are going to struggle against the Rams. I really was thinking it should be Minnesota, and I believe Dan Campbell when he said see you in 2 weeks, but I think actually a beat-up Vikings might struggle against a rested Rams.
Let's hear it. Vikings for me, Rams for Gav. Where are you going?
I'm also going to go with the Rams. I totally, they've just been flying under the radar. Like they bet the Ravens. Like, we all need to remember that they bet like a stacked Ravens team. Obviously, they went down to the wire, but I think they're better than people think they are. I think people forget that they are winning well. I think the lines are absolutely brutal. So if trying to bounce against that, coming back from that is too difficult. So I totally agree with what Gav just said there about how I just don't see how the Vikings can pull it back. They looked messy last night. It's not even just their defense. They looked messy. They looked like not put together. They didn't look like the team that they have been the whole season. I don't know what. I know Sam Darnold couldn't make a pass. Jefferson couldn't catch it. They didn't use Addison at all. It was just very odd, and it didn't feel like the Vikings. I mean, unless they were like, "Oh, we're not going to. Maybe we won't win anyway. We'll just sit out." But that just seems silly to me personally. So. I'll go with Rams. I think it'll be close, though. I think we're talking like a 2-point game. I don't think it will be a blowout by any shape or means, but no, I think Stafford will do it, as he always does.
As a Vikings fan, I know last night was about the number 1 draft pick and the buy and all that, but you'd rather have that performance last night than next weekend. I mean, we get to that playoff and it's one and done. You'd rather you have your off week in the last week of the regular season, even though if you'd won last night, you wouldn't be playing next week. But you know the point I'm making.
I know, that's what, and I totally agree. Like, maybe that was the ploy that they just sit back and just see how it goes. But that just seems silly to me. Yeah. Why you would? So I think they looked shady. Yeah, no,
they did look way off last night. Like you said, it looked like a completely different team last night. But how much that's down to the Vikings, how much that's down to the Lions, we'll find out this weekend. Yeah. All right, on to the red side of the NFL. Then we've got the AFC. So first up. Bills over Broncos. Broncos have been impressive this season. They probably exceeded expectations. Bo Nix has had a great season, but to me that's all irrelevant. The Bills are going to win this. Josh Allen, my MVP pick, still my MVP pick despite Lamar Jackson's numbers. Josh Allen and the Bills over the Broncos. Not comfortably, but I don't think the Broncos will get too close to them. Sarah, what about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was saying to Dan during the games, I was actually embarrassed with how the Broncos were playing against that third string Chiefs team. I was like, why bother? Like, when you were up 24-0, do you know what? We should have probably just sat down and had a picnic or something, because they weren't doing anything to warrant needing the thrashing that they got. They just wanted to tell the Bengals they weren't getting it, but it's fine. But yeah, no, I just think the Bills are too good. I think Josh Allen's too good on his own. To not win. I think also Josh Allen is the MVP pick. I would like it to be Joe Burrow, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, I just don't see them making it again. But that might also come down to what we were talking earlier. That comes down to the experience, doesn't it? That the Bills have been there before. They understand. They know what's happening. And Bo Nix doesn't have that experience yet. So I think this will be a great game for him in terms of his development for the next couple of years. But I just don't think they'll win against them.
Perfect.
If it was the Bengals, we'd be having a different conversation.
I thought because your husband would fall out if you didn't say it.
But also, the Bengals are the kryptonite. I would genuinely think that they all had a deal to be like, we can't let them win because we will crumble.
Oh, see, think about it.
That's fine.
That is a possibility. Because the Chiefs, would you rather play potentially the Broncos or would you rather play potentially the Bengals?
Yep. Anyway, you'd rather. Yep.
Let's not get tinfoil hats on. Gav, clean sweep for you. You going with the Bills here?
Yeah, I've got to back up everything that's been said. I think, like Sarah said, it's not just the experience for Bo Nix, it's actually for that entire Broncos team. So the last time the Broncos went to the playoffs was when they won the Super Bowl back in 2016. So, if you can name me any players that are still around from that, I think they'll struggle. Obviously, Sean Payton knows what it takes to win a Lombardi, but I think Broncos have done well to get this far. They deserve to have got this far, but it's as far as they go. I think Josh Allen is moving on to the divisional weekend and his Bills team.
I think the Broncos are very much like the Commanders here. It's an absolute free hit for them. They've got nothing to lose. Either team, go out, just try and do what you can do, because nobody was expecting you to be here at the start of the season. So, all right, next one, which I think is potentially going to be the tightest matchup of the weekend: the Ravens and the Steelers. I sat in the fence for ages on this one before I made my decision, before I reveal mine. Gav, AFC North, wildcard game, where's it going?
AFC North. I'm sticking with the home team. Steelers have been flagging late in the season. I think this is a team that, okay, Tomlin, gets a lot of respect. They never have a losing season under his watch, but I think they have kind of been a bit overrated for most of the year. I think it's going to be a hard game, because it always is, between these two sides. But you've got to like the Ravens to advance.
Yeah, agree, Sarah.
Yeah, totally. I think the Steelers have been shocking the past couple of weeks. I just don't think they're. I don't think I've never thought they're all that, to be fair. But I guess that maybe comes from the Bengals bias. But I just don't see them beating. I just don't see them stopping Derrick Henry. I just don't understand how they'll do it. I think he's a machine. He's so much quicker than he was. I noticed that in their game on. I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, how are you so quick now? Especially even as he's getting older. Like, that's more impressive. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I just think that the other MVP potential pick is Lamar Jackson, and he will continue to do what Lamar Jackson does, which is run. So, yeah.
The reason I was kind of on the fence with it is if anybody can scheme a team to beat the Ravens, it would be Mike Tomlin. I don't necessarily think that the Steelers have got the talent to beat the Ravens, but we've got Tomlin there at head coach. Anything can happen. But I did eventually come down and say that the Ravens, they're just going to be too strong, I think. Be interested to see. I've not actually seen what Zay Flowers' injury is, whether that's serious or not. I forgot all about that. I might check that before we came on. Obviously, he went off injured very early on Saturday night, so we'll see how that one plays out for them. So, but yeah, Ravens for me, despite even without Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman can easily step up. As an
update on that, I've just checked it. They say it's day to day, not season ending for his knee. So
who knows exactly? Who knows? Right, and the final game of AFC is everybody's darlings last year, the Texans against the Chargers. Sarah, where's this one going?
I think so. In my prediction of this will be the only game that the home team does not win, because I think the Chargers will win. I think the Chargers will beat the Texans. Similar to the Steelers, I don't think the Texans have been playing good the past couple of weeks. I think that Bills game absolutely rattled them, and they just can't bounce back from it right now. Again, they're in the AFC South. It's not a difficult division to perform well in. So glad that they're there. Fantastic, congratulations. But I think the Chargers will beat them, and will be the first time that Justin Herbert's moved on to another level in the playoffs. Is that right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Somebody can fact check that.
I think so. I can't think whether
because the Jags bet them in the first round on the Wildcard Weekend. So good for him. Yes. Good for Justin Herbert. Yes. Everybody loves him.
I love Justin Herbert. He's my favourite quarterback in the league. Gav.
Yes, I think for me, I'm kind of similar to Sarah. I've got to go with the Chargers in this one. I've had the home team winning, and I've been, like I said earlier, I've been scouring the fixtures, trying to find where the banana skin game is. But I just can't see it happening. The Texans, I guess, it's been said plenty of times about the sophomore slump, but I think they've not quite lived up to expectations this year, and I don't think home field is going to cut it against a Harbaugh coach team. I think, we talk about teams that don't know what it's like to be in this situation, but actually Harbaugh, I think, has been a difference maker throughout this season for the Chargers, and I think he's going to be proved to be the difference this weekend.
Yep.
I think as well, the game, I don't want to keep on back to the Jags, but the game that the Jags came back on against the Chargers on that Wildcard Weekend, I think has struck a chord with them, so I don't see them letting it happen again. Again, they've been here before. It's been a while since they've been here, so I just think that, I think they'll just demolish them.
I think the Chargers are very much like the Rams, have went completely under the radar this year. I think when they've made all the changes in the offseason in terms of who went out, Keenan Allen went out, Austin Eckler went out, nobody was expecting anything of the Chargers this season. but suddenly they're in the playoffs. And something I've just realised there, that when was the last time the AFC West had 3 teams in the playoffs? It must be a long time since that's happened. I mean, because the Broncos have been not very good for a while. The Chargers have been hit and miss. Obviously, the Chiefs are always there, but and the Raiders are bin fire. So, yeah, I think the Chargers win this. I think something I read just before we came on air is that there is a rookie quarterback who has the better season than Caleb Williams, who's not Bo Nix, who's not, what's his name? Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams has had a better season than CJ Stroud. Threw for more yards. He's the same amount of touchdowns. He's gave up less interceptions. Only thing that Stroud gets in terms of the key matrix is he's got a 0.7% better completion rate, but Williams got a better passer rate. That's ridiculous, considering what the expectations on the Texans getting out this season was. That Caleb Williams, with the Bears and the way they've played, is a better passing record than CJ Stroud. So yeah, teams have schemed them. They know what's happening. So the Chargers for me. And Justin Herbert, the man with the perfect spiral, will lead the Chargers on to the next round of the playoffs. Right, so we've also got the Lions, and we've also got the Chiefs on the bye week. Let's do it, Sarah. Way too early. Who's winning the Super Bowl, Sarah? Or who's? Let's stop. Who's getting to the Super Bowl? Let's not do winners. Who of the teams that are there? Who's your 2 Super Bowl teams?
Bills, Lions.
Okay, Gav.
Oh, see, that's my picks, and I feel it need to be different. But no, I want to see Bills Lions as well. I think even since we had that game during the regular season at Ford Field, you want to see that happen again. And 2 teams that I think everyone's rooting for. Yeah,
I'm the same. Bills Lions for me. I think it would be an absolute epic Super Bowl if it's a Bills Lions. But we've just cursed it. It's going to finish 6 each, go to overtime, and finish 9-6 with a field goal in the last minute of overtime. So.
No, it'll be the Chiefs that'll be there. It won't be the Bills. It'll be the Chiefs. That's why we've cursed it.
Josh Allen's going to break that hoodoo.
So if the Chargers win, they'll play.
I had this up earlier on.
I'm trying to do the math
completely
now.
Forgot. Chargers.
So if
not Chargers.
No,
the Broncos are the bottom seed, but we don't think they'll win. We think the Bills will win. So.
Yeah,
then the Chargers? Yeah, because the Steelers are the.
Yeah, if you're assuming that the Steelers will lose to the Ravens and the Broncos lose to the Bills, then the Chargers would basically still go to play.
So
the Chiefs.
If in the AFC, if the majority of predictions come through, you're going to have the Chiefs hosting the Chargers and the Bills hosting the Ravens. That's a some set of divisional games. In the NFC, we would have, let's just see, I'll go with the majority here just because you guys have went to, you would have the Lions with the Rams. And the Eagles and the Bucks.
Okay, so that would be Eagles winning against the Bucks, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then...
Anyway, wait too early.
Oh, dash up again.
Let's bring it back to our own country and our own land. So in the UK ball, a couple of things, just passing points. The Christmas break's over. The UK Women's Flag Football League, which is played across the winter, will be getting back underway. They're kind of mid-season at the moment. Coventry Cougars are going for 10 title, which is crazy. We had Ellie and Grace from Coventry on a few weeks ago on our In Conversation series, so make sure you check that out because they'll give you a good idea of how the flag scene for women is in the UK and their thoughts on the current season. So, yeah, we could catch up with them later in the season and see how things are going. Also, we're getting to that time of year where tackle football teams will start to do their off seasons, maybe a bit too early for that, but start to do their rookie days and come along and join us and try out the new sport and stuff like that. So we've seen a few of them starting to pop up on social media over the last couple of days, so we'll start kind of highlighting them. Regardless whether it's tackle or flag, if you go onto the British American Football Association website, you'll find your local team, whether that's flag, whether it's tackle, whether it's youth. If you want to get involved, want to watch the sport, want to support your local team, get along, because as much as we can promote this sport, the better we can get. And obviously flag's going to be an Olympic sport, so get along and see what that looks like ahead of the Olympics in 2028. All right, we've got any other business points, guys, that but I don't want to labour on them too much. So, first one, I just want a one-word answer for you for this one, right? Tyreek Hill. He said he's out, he's done, he's finished. He's changed his profile picture on, I think it's X, to his head on Antonio Brown's body when he's running off the field topless. So, next season, Gav, come to you first. Where is Tyreek Hill playing next season?
Vegas.
Oof. Shoot. Sarah?
Browns.
Where wide receivers go to die? I think he will go to the Chargers. Chargers need a receiver.
I enjoyed Gab's Raiders predictions, but I didn't want to copy him, so I just said the best one that came to mind.
That's a massive talking point. We could be here all night talking about it, but something we'll watch with anticipation over the next week or so, and it's maybe something we can delve into a bit deeper next week when we kind of see the fallout, because was that just a reaction to the last game of the season? Like, where's he thinking? Mike McDaniel's kind of ignoring it at the moment, so we'll watch out how that plays out this week.
Does he go back to the Chiefs?
Nah. Well, he put a post out praising the Chiefs the other day, didn't he?
He did.
I don't think so.
No, they won't take him back, but it would be hilarious if they did.
Yeah.
What does he want? Does he want to win, or does he want the money? And I think he still wants to get paid.
Both.
Well, he needs child support, so he needs the money. Anyway, right. So let's revisit that in the next couple of weeks in terms of a proper discussion around Tyreek Hill, because we need to see how it develops. But for now, he wants out, so we'll see how it goes. Sarah, you have some news from the Saints, really, in the International Pathway Programme. Great news today. Like,
yeah.
What's coming out in New Orleans?
So Charlie Smith has been signed to a 2-year contract, so he is going to continue on, which is amazing news, obviously, for the IPP. So we clap and we cheer. We love to see players making waves. Hey Charlie, if you're listening and you want to come on the pod, hit us up. That would be nice. We can chat all about New Orleans. But yeah, just great to see somebody making really good waves and getting continued on in the programme, because that's what the programme's all for. Yeah. So absolutely buzzing for him and can't wait to see how the next 2 years go for him.
Yeah, it's excellent news. For those that are either watching us and don't know, the International Player Pathway Programme is a thing the NFL have got across the world. Players from countries that maybe wouldn't get the break in the NFL don't go through the NFL college system. Charlie Smythe is a kicker coming from Ireland. He got his chance through the National Pathway Programme. He signed. We spoke to Fraser Latake early in the season. He also went through the International Player Pathway as well. And he gave us a good insight into how it all works. So if you're wanting some more information on that, check out our In Conversation with Praise, and you can see how the process works and stuff like that. And obviously hoping that he makes waves next season for the Panthers as well. All right. Well, for the first episode, guys, that's been a great chat. We've had loads to talk about. Covered a lot of stuff. We've got a lot of differing opinions, which is what we want. We don't want to be boring. We don't want to be, you said that right, you're correct, I agree with you. That's not what we want. We want a bit of controversy. We want a bit of back and forward, and I think we've had a good bit of that tonight. For those that are watching and listening, thank you for tuning into episode 1 of Tartan Touchdown. This is the first of our weekly episodes following the goings on in the world of American football, so we will be back next week. Make sure you keep up to date with our Instagram or TikTok for our latest content and what we've got coming. It's at Tartan Touchdown on both of them. Until next week, we'll see you soon.